What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Ham Radio Crash Course. Welcome to Saturday. I'm sitting in the circle of hell that is reserved for amateur radio operators, where no one updates their logs to Logbook of the World or QRZ, and they never reply to a QSL card. It is over 100 degrees sitting where I'm at right now. Boy, is it hot! Wow, I am shooketh by how hot it is. I guess I should play some little background music here. And we've also got some HF going on. Wow, it is hot. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming on out to the Ham Radio Crash Course. I appreciate it. A big shout out right in the beginning to Ham Radio Dude with the super chat. I wasn't even live and he was throwing a super chat. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Go check him out on the YouTubes. He's a good guy. Makes some good stuff. Ham Radio Dude. Today we're going to be talking about Introduction to High Frequency Radio, HF radio. What the cool kids are doing with ham radio. All ham radio is great. HF radio for me is kind of where it's at. I really, really like HF. It is that long distance comms that we talk about. You and a wire talking to continents unknown, interesting lands. Last night, Saipan was on the air. I was trying to work a contact with him. He stopped taking contacts right about the moment where I was about to call him back after I got my radio all sorted out and stuff. And, oh, man. So I missed that one. That was a bummer. I'm taking more drinks of water here because I'm absolutely on fire. Again, thanks, everybody, for coming out. Struggling through this heat with me. I appreciate it very much. And if you hear that noise in the background, that is indeed the fan. Alrighty. So welcome, everybody. It is sweltering hot here in Southern California today. If you're hearing noises in the background, it is indeed my fan. I apologize for that, but it's just too hot to not have it on, so I apologize. I do tilt it down a little bit, so hopefully that'll be okay. Today we're talking about HF radio, getting introduced to HF radio, how to get started, kind of how it works. So I'm going to have some slides. We'll be doing some demonstrations on the IC 7300 and likely the 705 as well as we go. Couple of things to walk through, though, to start this whole thing out. We've got decals now at the Ham Radio Crash Course merch store, which is hamtactical.com. The link's in the description. Also, all the links for getting started in HF radio, all that fun stuff is going to be in the description, so just check that out. Should already be there. Leia has added stickers for the people that want to show proudly what their current level of licensing is. We've also added hoodies, because, it's 100 degrees. Why not have a hoodie? We've had hoodies before, but the big one is the zip-up hoodie. I will be rocking this for sure. I love zip-up hoodies. They're my favorite. They're what I wear when it is not 100 degrees out and sweltering. So, great job, Leia, on doing that. Leia's the one that does all the work. And if you want a fun little thing, go to hamtactical.com and read the product descriptions. I won't do it here. I want to save you the joy of reading through reading through some of them, because they're a lot of fun. The effort that Leia puts into it. We've also got our podcast is now hosted on Podbean, so you can find us on Podbean. You can find us on iTunes. You just search for Ham Radio Crash Course Podcast, and you'll find it. The last episode we did, which came out yesterday, is ham radio licenses could cost $50? Huh. So we're talking about HF radio today. We're going to go into more detail than that, but that might be a good reason to get your license pretty soon, because if this does go into an effect, if you get your license now, it'll be good for 10 years, and you don't have to pay the $50. So if you needed a little bit of incentivization to do that, not having to pay $50 is probably a good one, for sure. And I've added a poll over on the Ham Radio Crash Course. Leia is making a new shirt. We get recommendations. If you want to see a shirt made by Leia, she does the designing. If you go to Leia at hamtactical.com and email her the shirt ideas. We'll try and turn them into shirts, or we'll make a poll and we'll pick the one. We'll take the one that wins and we'll start with that one and we'll work through them. So we've got a poll that's live right now. You can check it out. Basically, the first option is a Matrix-style waterfall that says in Morse code, take the red pill, or maybe we'll change that to something else, or we'll splice in other fun little keywords. And then the other one is it'll say Zygu G90 or Baofeng, and then have a picture of the radio and then problem solver on the bottom. And those of you who get that reference, it's a bit of a meme, so we'll be doing that as well. Oh, man, it's already really hot. I'm going to dip into some beer right now, and I'm going to open that because I need something cold. And what better on a hot day than a refreshing pumpkin spice Yeti? Imperial Stout? Stout with coffee and spices, but pumpkin spice flavored. Nothing better on a hot day. After you mow the lawn, you're sweating on a hot day. What better than a nice, cool pumpkin spice Imperial Stout? So get my extra glass, which is available on the Ham Radio Crash Course merch site, hamtactical.com. That is a thick boy. I don't know why I picked these. I went shopping for beer today, and it was nice out. It was still like in the 90s, and it kicked up at like 3 o'clock and just went absolutely nuts. So crazy. Let's look at the comments again. Thanks so much everybody for coming out. I appreciate you guys all watching these. As we try and walk through getting people engaged in ham radio, and this isn't just for newcomers. It's obviously called the Ham Radio Crash Course. So you think it's for people starting out, but really it's not, because the way I look at it and the way I've always said is, ham radio is such a complex hobby with so many interesting details that every new aspect of the hobby that you pick up or get interested in is going to be like starting all over in some cases. You'll have some benchmarks that you can base kind of your knowledge off of, but you're kind of starting out fresh every time you start something new. So that's why we exist. That's why the Facebook community exists. That's why our Discord exists, to kind of help people along with whatever new thing in amateur radio they're working on. Because as I found, as I've demonstrated time and time again, I don't know everything, nor do I try to know everything. And there's so many good people involved in the communities that we have going that will help answer questions, because they're often way more engaged in those things than I am. In fact, the fan is now getting to the point that it's bothering me. So I'm going to lower this. I'm going to try until I start sweating profusely, and then I'll turn it up a little bit. That might not be workable, but we'll see how it goes. All right, so let me go through the comments here, make sure I'm not missing anything. Leia's in the chat. My wife is responding to people. What is a good Oh, somebody got a $100 gift card. What is a good upgrade from a Baofeng UV5R for 150-ish? The Wushin, somebody will post it. The Wushin makes a couple of makes a couple of really good options. Maybe we'll look at that at the end. In fact, if you want, save that question for when we do the Zoom chat at the end of the live stream, or for the Discord after chat. If you want to follow along, that is the best way. Speaking of Discord, got to do this before I go any further. Where is it? Now it's hidden? What happened? There it is. Oh, no, it's not there. There it is. We are giving away the ICOM action packs. Today we're doing 10 swag packs, and that's going to be the Boonie hat, the lantern, and a QRP crew t-shirt. So we are at, I don't understand why those are not even, though you can enter both, but if you go to the Discord, link in the description, you go to the giveaway chat, and you click the party horn right here, right there, you will be added to the giveaway, and it's open to anybody. We'll ship them out wherever we can. All right, so that's how you get into the giveaway. So make sure you follow up with that, because you definitely want to win an ICOM swag action pack. Okay? Flying Squirrel with the super chat. Hey Josh, thanks for advice on the Pocket 2 versus an iPad Raspberry Pi. Excited for this video today. Oh, very good. Christiana says only 90 in Klamath Falls. Got an HRCC extra t-shirt. Oh, thank you. Thank you for getting the shirt, and congratulations on only 90 degrees. Tomorrow we're going to be poolside, so I'm definitely going to be just chilling in the water. Brian Edwards with a super chat. Got General today thanks to you and all the Ham Radio YouTube bunch. Right on. Cheers to you, sir. I see Jason is in the house too. He knows the radio I'm thinking of. Wushan is the brand, and I can't think of it. It's got a larger screen, but I'm sure somebody will answer in the chat. So very good. Okay, so what are we talking about? Well, today we are talking about an introduction to HF ham radio. My beer has calmed down a little bit, so I will take a sip. Oh, that just cools you right down. What can I say? That just cools you right down. I will also throw out that we are rocking the 705, which I've got on 70 centimeters right now. And we've got the 7300. Look at my noise floor. You'll notice even if I turn the RF gain back up, at highest it's S5, which is, for what we've been at, is pretty good. And yes, there is a video that is in work talking about not only my trials and tribulations with dealing with the noise floor, but how to actually get the power company involved in helping you. I have some thoughts in that area. May not work for everybody, but it should be helpful. At least I hope it is. Okay, so HF radio, like I've talked about many, many times, I would say a good portion of my videos is on HF radio. It is absolutely my favorite aspect of amateur radio, no question. I love a lot of it, all of it in a lot of ways, but HF radio is where it's at for me. This is a patron picks episode. Welcome to September. The summer's over. You would have never known it. So what we do is the first show of every month, the first weekend, the first Saturday, I poll Patreon, particularly the producers, on what topics should be. And I question all of Patreon on what they would like to see. And then I add a poll, and we pick the winner. In this case, this came to a tiebreaker. What the heck actually is a Magaloop antenna, and why are they popular, was going to be one option. And the other one is introduction to HF, best operating practices, terminology, and on-air etiquette. HF won, and here we are. So thanks to the patrons for that. What is high-frequency radio? Bruh, it's supersized VHF, UHF. It's more complicated than that, but it's big radio. It's big-time radio. It's the big antennas. It's the big amplifiers. It's the big all that stuff. Of course, you can have amplifiers and VHF, UHF, but, a lot of people are talking about HF radio when they talk about amps. All right, so the agenda, what we're going to cover today, because there is a lot, and we will be taking comments. I'll try to keep an eye on the chat. Evan is commenting on my tiny hands, which I've found my tiny hands. What is? The fan? Oh, Leia said the fan is too loud. Okay, hold on. Leia has said it is too loud. The proper producer has stepped in and said, I must suffer so that you all may gain from this. So you can thank Leia for reducing the noise. Hopefully that's better. She'll come throw something at me if it's not. Leia, you tell me, does this sound better? What does everybody think? Sound better? If I die, please get your license, okay? That's what I want from all of you. Excellent. Mike Y asks, any chance the stream can move earlier in the day? Probably not. But I appreciate you asking. That means you like it and you want to be here live while we're chatting, so I appreciate that. I'm sorry that I can't really do it earlier. This is probably the earliest. I used to do it 7 p.m. That was my... It doesn't sound like it's the fan. It's not the fan. It's... Oh! Oh, I realized I left the radio on. I apologize. Hopefully you still heard me okay. I was so focused on playing the audio for the opening that I forgot to lower my noise floor, so hopefully that's not that bad. We may just cut that opening out. Moving the fan made no difference. Yeah, I know. I got it. I got it. It's off. Thank you. Thank you. Stage left there. It's the static. Okay. Well, hopefully it's not. It wasn't too loud. Okay. Hopefully it wasn't too loud. Anyway, what are we talking about? What is HF radio? How does it work? We're going to cover a little bit about the sun cycle, recommended starting setup, getting on the air, checklist, which I sometimes use. Usually I use a checklist when I run into trouble. Operating modes for when you're on HF, working a QSO, calling CQ, logging, and best practices and lessons learned. This agenda, I have kind of done a deep dive. Where is it? I've done a deep dive on most of these, and I've tried to collect all of them I can in the description. So if you want to know more detail on any of those agenda items, go in the description. Okay, thank you. High frequency in a nutshell is by using radios that operate on lower frequencies, we can bounce our transmitted RF off different layers of the ionosphere, which we will talk about all of this. I know I'm throwing a lot of terms at you. This bounce is called refraction. So we're transmitting from our home QTH, our home location, hitting some part of the ionosphere and bounce. What?
Turn your fan on so you don't die.
It's on. I got it. I moved. Leia, thank you. So on good days, we can get our signals all the way around the world. Those are really, really good days. We'll talk about that too. Is that type of propagation, all the way around the world propagation, consistent? No. But it's a lot of fun when it happens. However, close proximity propagation is totally usable consistently day in and day out. We'll talk a little bit about that as well. There's no reason day to day that you shouldn't be able to make a 400 mile to like 1,000 mile contact. That's a reasonable number to hit, and you should be able to do that by jumping through different bands throughout the day. What that means is you're making contacts that are way further out than VHF, UHF. 400 miles plus, right, in a lot of cases. So this is the radio spectrum. This is from 100 kilohertz all the way up to 10 gigahertz. You notice here is this MF and HF. We're focusing on this MF area, which is going to be a little over 1 megahertz through 10 megahertz is considered HF. Actually, all the way up to 28 megahertz is generally considered HF. And a lot of people include 50 megahertz, which would be for 6 meters, the 6 meter band. Is your wife Filipino? No, she's Chinese. She's actually in one of my live streams if you go back far enough. Did she just answer that? Oh, Chinese Vietnamese. Okay. We won't. I don't know why she said that. That's interesting. Picking your band of operation is based on the time of day. So we're day-night cycle, right? Exists with HF radio, becomes really important. How that works is, generally speaking, most of the HF bands follow a day-night cycle. We just covered this, right? So starting up at, this blue line here, call it 28 megahertz, all the way down to 1 megahertz. That's a lot of space, frequency space. Where you sit or where you move your radio to in that frequency space is going to be really dictated by the sun, the time of day, believe it or not. During the day, the sun energizes lower levels of the ionosphere, particularly the D and E layers. The D is most important here, which makes high-frequency HF usable. So like 28 megahertz, right, 10 meters. That is more usable because the D layer absorbs RF, and higher frequency radiation is not as affected by the attenuation of the D layer. At night, those lower levels of the ionosphere, no longer being hit by the sun, are no longer energized, and it dissipates, and it goes up to a higher level. And that higher level is more conducive to lower frequencies. That's why we move to like 40 meters and 80 meters at night. Here is my artist rendition of the atmospheric layers. Day is on the left side with the sun here, moon on the right. The D layer is during the day. The E layer is thick and heavy. And then at night, it starts to dissipate. During the day, you have an F1 and an F2 layer, but at night, F1, they merge and they become just the F layer. So you need to pick the band appropriately, and day-night cycle, as the sun sets overhead actually improves a lot of your kind of living on both sides of the fence, going from 20 meters to 40 meters, for instance. So a lot of people will pick the times of day that they wake up and play radio to hit different parts of the world based off of the day-night cycle of what's happening. Or they stay up really late like I do. That's generally how I work. So we got two band plans here. They say the same information, but I want you to know about both of them. The ARRL is on the right. The ICOM one is on the left. ARRL is on the left, and the ICOM one is on the right. I like the ICOM one a little bit more than the ARRL one, but they're both super handy. And the point here is really about understanding the graduation between general class and extra class license holders. To be really effective in HF, you're likely going to want to get your general class license. And with your general class license, you get access to all of the HF bands, but you got a little smaller sliver. So having this on hand is really important because when you're on 20 meters, for instance, you can see that here where my mouse cursor is, the general portion of the voice space of the band starts at 14.225 megahertz, and everybody ends at 14.35 megahertz. So it's a really good idea to have one of these around available. I even leave one of these, which is a nifty chart. I've linked this on other videos as well. I'll try to remember to put this in the description. I forgot to do that. But this is a really good thing to have on your desk that shows you what the rules are, and it actually breaks it down even further. So it'll tell you where simplex frequencies are for VHF, UHF, for example. And kind of looking at 40 meters here. There it is. 40 meters, it'll break up thing like where people generally use RTTY, where the W1AW information, the bulletin, is sent out on CW, that kind of stuff. Okay, so. All right, so you're thinking about starting out on HF. You have gotten your general class license, and I'll mention this right now. If you are a technician, you have access to HF, and if the proposal that was sent out by the ARRL actually gets a footing at the FCC, you will get portions of the HF bands for voice and digital. But even as a technician, you have access to Morse code, CW. Again, the band plan chart will tell you where that's at. I can show it, actually. So if you look down here, let's look at 20 meters. Where is it? It's not 20, it's 15. So if you look at 15, technicians have from 21 megahertz up to 21.025 up to 21.200 megahertz for Morse code for technicians. So you do get access to it, but you got to stick to Morse code. A lot of people don't really want to start out on Morse code. I understand. So what band should you aim for? You're a new general. You're thinking about putting together an HF station, putting up an antenna. I generally recommend 20 meters and 40 meters. So your daytime is covered and your nighttime is covered. 20 meters is very active throughout the day, nowadays into the night, and 40 meters is a great nighttime band. Last night it opened up pretty nice my time around 11, 12 o'clock at night, and I was able to pick up a ton of Asian stations that were coming in because of the All Asian DX contest that was going on at the time. And it was a lot of fun. I will give the nod, though, if you had to pick one, I would go with 20 if you're getting started. The reason for that is a 20-meter antenna, 20-meter dipole is incredibly easy to build. It's roughly 15 feet on each end of a dipole if you were to build a dipole. So that's a wonderful place to get started. All right, so the sun cycle. I mentioned day-night cycle, right? Really important. Well, there's an extra level of kind of things to think about. Our sun goes through an 11-year cycle of maximum and minimum intensities. During solar maximum, there are many sunspots all over the surface of the sun. That adds to the ionization of our atmosphere, which makes radio propagation even more effective. So 11-year cycles of really high maximums where radio, HF radio is super poppin', and there are just stations on top of each other because you can hear way more people. and then there are super low minimums. We happen to be in a minimum. So if you're making HF work out there, all the people in the ham radio crash course, if you're making HF work right now, that is kudos to you, because in the next couple of years, as we start building up, you're going to have even better times with it. You're going to have so many contacts that you're going to have a problem hearing just one station. We're going to have so many collisions happening. We're going to have a tough time. Imagine trying to find a hole on FT8 during the weekend in the waterfall. Imagine that, but voice. That's what I hope to see. I don't know that we will, but if I have my say, we will, because we're going to get more people licensed, and that's the point of all this. So I'm 11 slides in, and I haven't even mentioned any radios. What should I start with? All I've talked about is bands. What does bands mean? What does that even mean? All right, so recommend 100 watts in a wire. It's a great podcast and also a good place to start out with HF. It is a good podcast. You should go check out 100 watts in a wire and the Ham Radio Crash Course podcast and the Ham Radio Workbench podcast. Those three, at least. 100 watt transceivers are relatively easy to get. I know we're not meeting like we used to in clubs, like we used to in the past, but it's still something that you should be able to find pretty easily. I've got 5 minutes before the giveaway, so I'm paying attention here. Hold on, let me see. Okay. Got to make sure I pause here so we can do the giveaway. Wire antennas are dead simple to build. I would start with a dipole, which we've talked about. A dipole is 2 equal lengths of wire that connect to some kind of center connector or a balun, if you are so inclined to either make a balun or buy a store-bought balun. And then that connects to coax, which feeds your radio. And this is 50 ohm coax that you want so that you have the appropriate match, ohms match, to your transceiver. I recommend LMR 400, but I think that is a bridge too far in a lot of cases. If you're getting started on HF radio, RG8 coax is fine. Particularly with a dipole, it's fine. And try to pick up an analog power supply if you can. Those are kind of expensive, though. You can find them used if you look on eBay or QRZ forums for their online sales that they do, or online, what do you call that? Online swap meet type stuff. Those are good options. Radio. What radio should you get? I would still say the IC 7300. There's a reason why I have it in so many of my videos. There's a reason why I use it just about every day. It is a wonderfully simple and easy to use radio. I appreciate that it is more expensive than a lot of people really want to spend out of the chute. That's no joke. I get that. As kind of a secondary option, if you're under a budget or living in a budget, I would say, why don't you pick up like a Xiegu G90? Those are $450, and it's an okay option. Hey, thank you. Who got it? Barry. Thank you, Barry. He picked up a HRCC zip up. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate that. Leia gave you a shout out there. I don't know if I missed any more. I've been talking a little bit. Yeah, so the Xiegu G90 is an okay place to start. With that said, I think you want the 100 watts. I really do. I think at the end of the day, you're going to be far less frustrated with 100 watts. Chris says the FT991A, not a bad option. More expensive than a 7300. Also, the screen is not as good. I prefer the 7300. That's me. I think the menus are easier to use. I think the 7300 offers better filtering options. It has digital signal processing. I'm not saying the Yaesu doesn't. I'm saying this is my preference. And if you use a USB cable, you can go directly one cable from your 7300 into your computer, which makes doing digital type of communication very simple. And the 7300 is not that big. It's not unheard of to take a 7300 into the field and operate it from a park. I'm sure Mike's done that. All right, so you have your radio, you have an antenna, or at least you're thinking about it. Maybe you're taking notes on this. Maybe you're watching this after the fact. You're trying to put your shack together. Now what? Is your rig ready to transmit? Yes. HF is a lot different from VHF. VHF is as simple as, you could have a mobile radio, or you have a handheld radio, and as long as the antenna's on and the battery's on, you're generally pretty good to use it. There's not a lot of thinking. There is, but not that you key up and you blow up the HT per se. Not so much with HF. HF is a little bit more hands-on. You're going to spend more time probably with your antennas, making sure that the antenna is tuned or in good working order. It's a good time to mention that you will want to pay attention to the meters on your radio for standing wave ratio. That is basically the match between the antenna, the feed line, and the radio, and how well matched they are. Because the better they're matched, the RF will actually be more capable of getting out of the antenna. The more mismatched they are, a lot of that power can get lost over time through the feed line. Oh, we just picked the winners. We picked winners. Hold on, let me go back. All right, so congratulations. Who did we get? We got Ryan, Thomas, Michael, Joe Schlushy, and Glass Walker for the Adventure Pack. So stay tuned because we got another one coming in 26 minutes. So we'll make sure we get that back. And I'll contact you. Don't contact me on the winners of that. So I'll figure out how to get them to you. So you need to get acquainted with your SWR display, your standing wave ratio. If the numbers are low, generally you're aiming for under 2-to-1 SWR. I can demonstrate that pretty quickly here. Let me make sure my amp is off. My amp is off. I will flip over to my 7300. Let's move my hand here. Let's find a nice quiet place on the band. Okay. I'm going to put this into CW mode, and I'm going to display the meter, and I'm going to key up. That is my SWR reading right there. It's 1.2 or 1.3 to 1 match. That's good. That means I'm putting out a lot of my RF into the atmosphere, which is exactly what I intend to happen. If you've got less than that, or it's higher, meaning it's like 3-to-1 or more, then you might need to go in and shorten or lengthen your antenna based off of the frequency you're operating on. Because again, I was on 14.291 megahertz, and that antenna I'm running is pretty good on that frequency space for 20 meters. A poorly matched antenna could lead to damage to your radio, so when in doubt, use an antenna analyzer, or just kind of do what I did, put it into CW mode or AM or FM mode, something with a carrier, key up, and check what your SWR is before you just go full hog and start talking to people. SC Flowers, I exist with that. I agree with that comment. Standing wave ratio and impedance match, 50 ohms, are very important for tuning your antenna for optimum use. Indeed. All right, so here's my pre-flight checklist. This is what I do when I'm checking out a radio, or if it's a radio I haven't used in a while, or a radio I'm setting up portable. Is there a feed line connected to the radio? You'd be surprised. Turn on your power supply. Is it reading the appropriate output that you expect, which in my case generally is 13.8 volts. Thomas Tears, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Turn the radio on. Does it power up without an issue? Right? These are all good things so far. When the radio is turned on, do you hear noise? Right? And again, you know, this is speaking of noise, the noise that you've been listening to for a part of the show here, right? The radio in the background that you're hearing right now, that's the noise you should hear when you turn a radio on for the first time. If you don't hear that, then it's likely that you don't have an antenna connected, or you don't have a feed line connected, or there's some kind of problem. If you key up, you're possibly going to damage your radio, so make sure that you pay attention to that. When the radio's on, so you hear the noise, this also implies that, in fact, there is something that's kind of like an antenna connected. If you hear noise, it means you are pulling RF out of the air, and it is getting into your radio, which is good. So I then set the RF power to low, move the VFO to a clear frequency within your privileges. Again, you've got your little frequency chart there. And you're going to go ahead and key up, right? So, again, I can demonstrate that here for right now. We'll flip back to my 7300. I'm still in that same space. It looks pretty quiet there. Let's just go ahead and make it right and even like that. I'll change to AM this time. And I will give you a bit of sound to go along with it. And I'll key up. So here we go. And I got an incredibly low SWR. KI6NAZ. I transmitted. Okay. And you still have that noise? No, you don't. All right. You're generally aiming for 2.1, 2 to 1 or lower. A 1-to-1 match is a perfect match to the antenna. That is oftentimes a very, very hard thing to achieve, nor should it be like the only thing that you care about when putting your shack together. It's not the most important thing in the world, so don't kill yourself trying to get to a 1-to-1 match. 1.5 to 1 is often more than enough. 2 to 1 is actually workable in a lot of cases. 3 to 1 is when you might want to start worrying about, what's going on with your antenna. Now, a key point here. Oh, I wrote SDR instead of SWR. But antennas do not maintain the SWR as you move around the band. What happens is when you have a wire dipole, for instance, the lengths of that dipole are cut to a specific frequency. So you may cut it for the voice portion of 14 meters, which starts out at 14.225 megahertz. If you cut it at that point, it's probably really low right at that point, and then as you start going up or down the frequency space, it starts to creep up on you. So keep that in mind, that when you're getting to the high side, either the low end of the frequency or the high end of the frequency for how wide that that antenna's bandwidth is, that you should keep an eye on the SWR. All right, so the radio's ready. What time is it? It's the time to listen. The best thing you can do when you start on an HF is just listen a lot. I kind of had a leg up in the world of HF radio because I have been listening shortwave radio for a very long time. Shortwave is a wider frequency space than HF amateur radio. It includes both broadcast stations and amateur stations, and I listened to all of it growing up. So I kind of knew what it sounds like, what people do. But the key thing here is when you get your radio set up, listen a lot. When in Rome, do as the Romans do is a good comment here. You should just be paying attention to what's going on around you, understand what type of conversation is happening. Is it just two people talking, what we would call a rag chew? Is it somebody who's trying to make as many contacts as fast as possible? They're probably talking quickly. They're probably throwing numbers back and forth, some of which you might not be familiar with. Or, they're doing what's called a net, which is multiple people talking back and forth in kind of a round table. Or checking in, you'll hear terms like that. Just pay attention to it. I don't think it's all unapproachable that you can't listen for a little while and figure it out. But do try to figure it out, right? That's kind of the point here. You get your radio set up, you get to listening, and try and figure out what's going on. I say the same thing with VHF, UHF. So generally, this is one of the better ways to prepare to make a contact as well. Did you find a really strong station calling CQ? CQ is what we call like a Q code. For I wish to contact all stations. And listen to them. Make a few contacts, kind of like I already mentioned. Get an idea for how fast or slow the QSO is, the ham radio contact that they're doing, and what information is exchanged. Maybe they're saying, hey, a signal report. You're a 5-9 to me here in blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. They're looking for a signal report. Oh, he's asking these individuals' names and where they live, and maybe they're asking about what antennas they have. These are all things that some people care about to put in their logs, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But it's important stuff that you should keep in mind as you go set forth to want to be involved in HF radio. All right. So QTH is transmitting location. You'll hear that a lot. Again, that's Q code. Signal strength is, that's an expression of a 1 to 9 signal. So for instance, we can also demonstrate this. Why don't we do this now? What is an S signal? An S signal is going to be the transmitted signal of the people that you're hearing on the air. I can best demonstrate this by finding somebody that's talking. Here's a better one. Let's go to this guy. So they're an S7 peaking to S8. That is the S reading. And how good do they sound? Are they super clear? That's a 5, right? 1 to 5, 5 being the highest in clarity. And a 5.9 means the most clear and understandable and very high power with the 9. So that's what that looks like. Was that all just political talk too? That's funny. Mike Detmar says, found your channel back in March with the help of you and your YouTube peers. I got my technician back in July. Then I got my grandfather's call sign, W8PKT. Thank you for all you do. Hey, congratulations. I hope that a little bit of this may interest you in getting started with HF, but a technician's great. There's lots you can do with that, and it's a lot of fun. So congrats to you. Super cool that you got your grandfather's call sign. I think that's awesome. So congratulations. All right. So a note on operating modes. In general, so the radio I was just showing you, I was flipping through modes kind of fast and furious. Again, if you're interested in the 73 kind of my tips, my recommendations on that radio specifically, the link is in the description so you can find out more about the 7300 specifically. In general, most HF radios will provide the following functions or modes of operation. Single sideband, that is the voice mode that is used the most often. Now, people sometimes get confused. When we say single sideband means one of 2 sidebands. If you think of AM has a carrier and 2 sidebands. There's a central main lobe and 2 side lobes. Single sideband emits the carrier, the large middle lobe, and one of the side lobes. So upper sideband, which you use on 20 meters, is going to be the right side. Is that right? Yeah. The right side of where the carrier would be. And if it's lower sideband, it's going to be the left side. And left and right, in this case, is relative to the higher side frequency space and the lower side frequency space, looking down the band and up the band, if you will. If you think about it visually, it kind of makes sense. Traveler7282 says, great job, my friend. Keep up the great work. KC8GIJ. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Okay, so AM, I kind of covered it, has a carrier and 2 side lobes. Well, single sideband is effective because it's just one side lobe. We've packed all that voice information into one side lobe, taking up much smaller bandwidth. AM, however, is the carrier frequency, 2 side lobes, so you're going to get higher fidelity out of the audio. It's going to sound really, really good. And if you stumble upon an AM station that's out in the ham bands, if your radio is wide enough filtered, if you've got the filters open up, they sound fantastic. Somebody in the chat, Jeff W., says Joe Walsh hangs out on AM. Right, and so does Bob Heil in a lot of cases. AM sounds fantastic, but you generally have to put out a lot of power to work AM at a wider range, because the same amount of power you put out in single sideband will get you further if you think about it in that sense, because single sideband is using less power than AM. So you'll be able to get out further is kind of the main point. Continuous wave is the mode you set the radio in if you want to transmit Morse code with the dits and dots. So Morse code is a fantastic mode to get started in HF if you're interested in that. It's kind of appeals to a smaller sect of people, but I believe that it is probably one of the best modes you can use for radio because CW uses a much smaller bandwidth. So you're more effectively using that power to push out that RF, same amount of RF, but you're pushing much less bandwidth. You're pushing much less data is the wrong word, but information, modulated RF down the antenna. CW, you can make contacts further with less power because all you're listening for is a dit and a daw. You're not listening to the complexities of the human voice like I'm talking right now. What I would recommend, if you were thinking about CW, I am not the guy to learn from. I'm still learning myself, although maybe Adam was in the chat, K6ARK. I did work a contact with K6ARK when he was doing an activation, and I miffed it pretty hard, but I did it, and so I'm pretty proud of that. If you're interested in learning CW, I would suggest checking out the Long Island CW Club. Fantastic group of guys and gals and kids, young people, that are just great. Howard, who has been on my live streams multiple times, has such a cool approach to teaching Morse code, and I really support them. The link should be in the description for them, but if you Google Long Island CW Club, you'll find them pretty quickly. And last but not least is digital modes. That's where you're connecting your computer to your radio, and you're basically sending sounds from your computer through your radio and getting them transmitted that way. Digital is probably the most effective in exchanging information over the longer distances because it, like CW, requires a small bandwidth. There are some modes that require big bandwidths, but often small bandwidth. And your computer is much better at listening than you are as humans with your ears. Your computer can hear into the noise to pull out information from digital contacts. That's why when sometimes you see some of my live streams where it looks like I'm hitting the whole world, even in a low solar cycle, well, my computer is, because it can hear those signals that I couldn't possibly hear if I wanted to. Definitely couldn't hear them over single sideband or voice. So digital modes, always really, really good. I posted 2 links to WSJTX videos that I've worked on and JSA Call, which is kind of a really good emergency prep mode to use. Okay. So voice contacts. You hear somebody call CQ, CQ, some call sign, CQ, CQ. What does that mean? What do you do? So replying to a CQ. You're out on the bands. We don't have an example of that. That guy's literally, I think, complaining about the president or something that's out on the radio right now. But you may run into somebody saying CQ, CQ, their call sign, KI6, Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu, right? Asking for a call, waiting for a call, and then repeating themselves over and over again. What they're waiting for is somebody to reply back to them with their call sign. So if you hear that and your radio's in good working order and you want to work a QSO, which is what we again call is the Q code for what we call a contact, then you would say, key up and say your call sign in NATO phonetics. Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu. That's my call sign. Use your own. Thank you to Don W. for picking up AHRCC zip up. Very cool. Thank you for that. When you reply with your call sign, assume that other people are also trying to reply, so it's kind of a competition in who can get through to them the best way possible. I like to be as clear as possible, so enunciate your call sign as best you can and do it as quickly as possible. Say it as fast as you can that you still are intelligible and that they can hear you, but don't take your time about it. Move it along because they're going to come back to whomever's call sign they hear the best and generally the fastest is kind of what I've noticed. It can vary though. So hopefully the station heard you. If they did, they would reply back with your whole call sign. If they reply back with your whole call sign, do not reply to them with your call sign again. Because if you do that, that will make them think that they messed up your call sign. If you hear your call sign back to you, don't say your call sign again. Instead, say your name and give them their signal report. Do that right up front because the two sides of the QSO is exchanging party information. So you're going to say your name, you're going to say how strong they're coming into you, and they're going to reply back with their name, maybe, and how strong you're coming into them. You need that for logging your QSO, okay? So make sure you just focus on getting the exchange done and then dip into things like, I live in Southern California. Where do you live? I'm talking to you on an ICOM 7300 with, whatever antenna you're using. However, it's going to depend totally on the person that called CQ, kind of what they want to do. I generally let them, run the show. If they want to talk for a little while, have maybe a 10-minute, 30-minute QSO, great. If they want to just exchange information and get on to the next group, that's fine too. You'll know generally if it's a DX station, and DX means remote station, that they're probably wanting to get on with it. So they're going to exchange the information with you, and then they're going to want to go on to the next person, and the next person, and the next person. They're hunting for contacts in the United States, for instance. So give them what they want and move on. You can always find somebody else on the bands too. However, If they come back with only part of your call sign or your call sign is wrong, reply with your call sign. And I generally give it twice and phonetically said, and I say QSL at the end. I say the words QSL. And what that means in Q code is, can you acknowledge receipt of this transmission that I just gave? And then there's maybe a back and forth. Sometimes this happens if the quality of the connection, if you will, is not the best. So you may have to go back a couple of times, but do that up front. And again, get your contact exchange done early so that you can move on with the contact, either end it, just say your farewells, or you can continue on to other fun things. Now, I did mention, you can say over at the end when you're done talking. You can do this, but often it's not needed. A lot of people do it. You really don't necessarily need it. If you feel comfortable with it, you can. I will say, though, that you're not going to use it in any kind of contesting. You're probably going to use it more for just rag chewing, and you don't want to use it for DX if you're trying to work for just long-distance comms. You don't need to say over. You just need to get that exchange done and get on with your life. Okay, so what's the flip side of that? You're calling CQ. So it's just fine if you want to do this fresh on your first day of getting your general. You get your antenna set up. It's looking great. Your radio's working fine. You got a perfect SWR, or good SWR. You scan around for an open frequency, and again, what does that look like? It's so nice to have the 7300 because I can just show you by like, hey, look at this. I have an open frequency. It's right here. See this spot here? That's just like empty right where we're at 14.205. Well, I could key up and I could say, is this frequency in use? Give your call sign and say, is this frequency in use? Your call sign. And then repeat the step again. Is this frequency in use? Give your call sign. That way you're checking to see if there's maybe someone that they're in between talking, or there's a pause, or maybe you can't hear them completely. Maybe your antenna isn't the best receiver, so maybe it gives them time to respond. You say, oh, no, yeah, we're having a queue, so don't step on us. And this is all in the sense that ham radio operators are supposed to be, we're supposed to be a part of this fellowship, if you will, of ham radio. We're not trying to like screw one ham over to make a contact, right? We're all in this together. We're all supposed to be having fun. So take every opportunity you can to not be the bad guy in a situation. So, key up, make sure that the frequency is not in use. And then, now call CQ, your call sign, CQ. And if you want to vary that up a bit, you can. That is the base template example for calling CQ. However, I will say this. Slow it down a bit. Say CQ, calling CQ for Kilo India 6, November Alpha Zulu, CQ and listening. That's, 5-6 seconds or whatever. That gives enough time as you repeat it that people will hear it, kind of like a beacon, and reply to you, assuming that you're getting out there. You can vary this up. I generally don't like flowery CQs. I know a lot of people add in calling CQ on 20 meters, listening for all callers anywhere, calling CQ and listening. They add all kinds of cool stuff. And again, this goes back to listening. Listen a lot and get a concept of what's going on. Maybe you'll find something you really like, and okay, cool. You adopt that and you use it too. Kenny Carberry sends a super chat. Thank you. Been looking forward to this stream. Strutting for my general now. Thanks for the great content. KC1LLQ. 1LLQ. Wow, that's an interesting call sign. But thank you for the support. I appreciate it. Now, then just repeat it over. Oh, did I do that? There we go. Yeah, so then you just start repeating step 5 over and over, but make sure that you're giving enough time in between calling CQ and waiting for somebody to actually reply to you. I will say that there is the opposite of where people talk too much during a CQ. They just keep going and going and going, and people are already waiting to talk to them, and they just keep going. Don't do that either. I'd rather you call CQ for a couple of seconds, pause for 2 seconds, call CQ again, pause for 2 seconds, and so on and so on. Okay, so somebody came back to you. This is just a fun ham radio QSO that you're working. You hear a call sign come back into the air. Let's say you heard it completely. You would reply with their call sign, UR, and then give the S S7, S8. You are S9 into Cerritos, California. My name is Josh. You just go ahead and insert your own into that Mad Lib script I've given you. And that's pretty much how you start the contact. So you would log this information in a logger, or you'd write it down on a piece of paper, and then you could have your QSO exchange. You'd wait for them to come back and give you what they heard you at, and there you go. You basically just completed a ham radio QSO. It's all fun at that point. You got the hard work done up in front. Now you can have some ham radio fun. The best practice, again, is to get the full contact exchange out of the way first and foremost. Then, if you want, have a bit of conversation. What radio are you talking on? Your audio sounds great. You can say that even if it's not great, because everybody loves being complimented. Ham radio is no exception. People love to hear that their audio quality is really good. So you say, hey, your audio sounds really good. Whereabouts are you? What kind of radio are you talking to me on? What kind of antenna do you have? I have found really good first-hand recommendations from listening to hams talk on the radio when doing QSOs with them for microphones, for radios, for antennas. Today I talked to somebody that, or was it last night? It doesn't matter. He was on a cubicle quad. Sounded great. Now, a lot of that was attributed to the radio he was using, but what he told me was that he thinks the cubicle quad is a fantastic antenna because it drops the noise level down really, really low. I was like, well, that's something I could use. So, you get the idea. This is where you talk to people. You have fun. It's an exchange. That's why we're doing this, right? Joe S., thank you for the super chat. Great work getting others into HF. Let's light up the bands. I agree. DE means from, for everybody that saw that chat. N1MID, also thanks for the giveaway. I won. Now what? Oh, did I miss a giveaway? I did. I missed the second one. I get too into talking. All right, so Jorgonaut Sean, KE5 ETX Scout, Kim KG7 NJD, and Japper. You guys won. We gave away 10 swag packs today. And we'll do it every time I have a 705 in a video or live streams. We're going to try and give something away. I put this in here. This is Howard sent me this. This is the CW exchange for sake of time because I'm already blowing through my time. I'm going to skip this, but please check out the Long Island CW Club. Even if you have an inkling that you might want to be involved with CW, check them out. All right, Q codes quickly here. Q codes originate, I've mentioned a bunch of them already. Q codes originate from radio telegraph days, and it was what they would use to provide a quick abbreviation that would give you like a whole sentence of meaning. A couple prime examples. QRZ, who's calling me? Who's next? Is there someone waiting to talk to me? People use this still today on single sideband. QSL, I already gave an example of that. It's come back to me that you heard what I said, you understand what I said, and that you agree or that we're on the same page. QRT is station going offline. You get a pileup going, and you're like, hey, I'm done. You'd sometimes use this if you were doing a SOTA activation or a POTA activation. And QRM, one of my favorite ones. We're having trouble with man-made interference. Troubled. I am a horrible speller. All right, so you got all this information from your QSOs. You want to log it all. You want to capture it into something. I'll cover this quickly. So things you need to do to put into a log. And this could go eventually into a QSL card, or you could use a web service like QRZ.com to do your logging, or you could use Logbook of the World. I've done videos on these topics too, so you can look those up on my channel on finding more information about logging, different types of logs, both online and software. And in those logs, you want to include the time, UTC time, frequency used, the mode used in the contact, the call sign of the station worked, and the sent and received signal report. So I use N3FJP Logger. I find it very simple. I find it easy and intuitive to use. But if you're on Windows, there is Ham Radio Deluxe, there is N1MM, and there's Log4OM. I have done videos on Ham Radio Deluxe and N1MM for sure. On Linux, you have CRQ Log. On Mac, there is rumlog NG. But so I've got to take a little we got to take a little path divergence here. There is a mystery that we've been dealing with logging recently. It's an issue that's been plaguing ham radio that I need to talk about right now. So we've got this big, big mystery. To date, the International Man of Ham Radio Mystery, K8MRD, uses a secret logger unknown to the ham community, and we want to know what it is. Many believe it's the combination of his secret computing device and mysterious logger, along with his DX expedition, that allows him the copious POTA contacts he's making. Some say it's merely he's in the middle of the country, but what do those people know in reality? To that, I want to know, what is this man hiding? That's what I want to know. Realistically, he's using the iOS application Hamlog, which is a great application. You should definitely check that out. And he's using an iPad running that app. Hamlog's great. You should definitely use Hamlog. Mike is in the chat. I'm so glad he stuck around. I saw him. I specifically saw Mike, and I'm like, I said at the beginning of the stream, Mike, I chatted, I'm so glad you're here. Cheers, Mike. So all this talk of antennas, and you gotta have the SWRs, and you gotta do this, and you gotta do that. Boy, it seems like I'm spending a whole lot of time getting ready to play radio than actually playing radio. What's up with that? So the hobby of making radios work and making antennas effective and efficient is something that you will never, ever, ever stop doing. It's a real thing. It's absolutely a big deal. So I find, the time I spend tinkering on antennas, radios, and software and all that fun stuff to play radio, I get a ton of enjoyment out of it. It's a part I absolutely love in radio, and that's just fine. It's kind of like always wrenching on a car to me. Growing up, I had a 1967 Mustang, and I felt like I was working on that car a lot more for necessity than actually like having an enjoyment out of it. But I know people do work on cars for the enjoyment of it. I feel the same way with radio. If anybody says anything about revenge from Mike, nothing I said was attacking Mike. He's fantastic. I thought that was great. I was answering the question that has been plaguing ham radios. What logger does he use? Because he gets asked it every video he puts out. There's nothing wrong with constantly tweaking the settings and trying things out to get your station performing at maximum. All right. So I've been talking for a really long time. I'm going to talk a little bit more, and then we'll open up to the Zoom. Yeah, this is going to be a long one, but that's okay. It's really hot, and COVID-19, right? Or I should say human malware virus. So I got some best practices from Discord and the patrons and whatnot. First, I'll say what I knew, or what I wish I knew when I was starting out, is that you should get a 100-watt transceiver if you're starting out. That's my opinion. I started with a QRP radio. Now, being older and I guess more learned in some of the things I needed to know about antennas, that 100 watts for somebody starting out is going to be way more beneficial than it is necessarily right now. I can make QRP work, but even at the end of the day, it's only as good as the capability of the cycle that we're going in, the propagation, whatever. QRP is always going to be challenging. And if you're trying to have fun, just get the 100 watts and start there. That would be my recommendation. Make a few dipoles. Tune them, get them up as high as you can, and experiment with inverted V and horizontal. Horizontal is kind of what I want to see people get to if they can do that. Be humble, be polite. I don't mean be a weirdo, but I mean, assume that all the comments you're getting on the air is coming from a good place. I know sometimes hams can come across as like gruff or too straightforward there's no bedside manner in a lot of cases. A lot of these people are electrical engineers, just engineers in general, can generally be like to the point, let's fix it and move on type of thing. So just assume they're coming from a good place. Even if they're not, assume they're coming from a good place and just end the contact and move on. There's no reason to get upset about it because who cares? You're never going to see this person again. But hams can be, even the ones that are very straightforward, extremely helpful when you're on the air. If you can make a contact, they got little little tweaks you can do. Listen to them, hear them out, because they're generally right. And it's supposed to be fun. don't take these things too seriously. I get it. We got money tied up into it. It's technically challenging. You just want it to work. You're outside doing a Parks on the Air or Summits on the Air. It's hot. It's whatever. It's supposed to be fun. You're doing it to be fun. The challenge should be fun. All things should be fun. I guess, and sometimes it sucks in the moment. But when you look back, I promise you're really going to enjoy yourself. Take your time. All right? The last thing here. Take your time. Tons of people email me, message me, all over the place. I get so many messages from so many people every day, and they want the shortcut to the end game of like, tell me what radio to buy. I don't care how much it costs. Tell me what to do right now so that I never have to think about buying another radio. Done. It doesn't work like that. Nor kind of should it work like that. It's not about acquiring radios. Ham radio isn't about that. Sometimes it ends up like that. But you can't really rush things in terms of you understanding how radios work, understanding how antennas work, understanding how to make a contact. It's all something that kind of comes in its own time as you put information in your brain and what you turn into something that becomes a memory that you can recall later and use. So don't rush it. Have fun with it while you're doing it. It should always be fun. If it's not, consider why it's not fun, okay? Oh, hey, cool. Leia mentions that 2 decals from Lee was purchased, and the Morse code shirt. Very cool. Big General Energy coming from you, says Leia. Very good. With that said, HF can be a completely wild west of radio, of ham radio. We're afforded a lot of frequency space. However, there are considerably more people on HF at any moment than there, and there are a lot of informal band plans that everyone should kind of be aware of. Should be aware of? Aware of is what I meant. There are nets that have been in operation for years, along with emergency service nets that are monitored 24/7, like 14.300 megahertz being one. Further, there are the dark places on HF that you really shouldn't go. Frequencies like 7.200, 3.84 megahertz if you're down in Southern California or just California in general. Just don't go there. Human beings in a society, we live in a society. Human beings, even on ham radio, are the same. There's jerks out there, so just avoid them. Just stay away from them. I walked you all the way through over an hour of talking to get to the point of saying, hey, jerks exist. They exist in ham radio. If you don't like what you hear, spin the dial. Spin it and just get out of the way. Okay. At the end of the day, we try to operate in such a way to not step on each other and to give ourselves the best chance in getting out and being heard. So that's why we do the CQ the way we do, that we do the transmission of information that way. We try and say, hey, is this frequency in use? All this stuff goes to the like, hey, I also want to work these frequencies. We're sharing them. Let's work together, right? Okay, so best practices. I just pulled these from Discord. We'll talk to them quick, and then I'll drop a Zoom link, and we'll take a couple of questions. We're still doing the Discord after chat, so if you have not joined us on Discord, take the link in the description, and we'll take your questions after. S.H. Rutledge with the super chat. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it. All right. Lone Wolf says, don't touch the antenna. Good idea. Dominic, one of our moderators, wait until the calling station is done calling before replying to their CQ call. Yes, very true. Killer Spud says, pay close attention to the waterfall when running FT8. And he means specifically, a little inside baseball. Go watch my WSJTX video on this. The waterfall that the WSJTX application opens up, there's a swim lanes of data, and you see them as like little rectangle chunks. You don't want to put your transmit frequency on where someone else is transmitting, because then you're interfering with each other. Find a lane that's empty, park yourself there, and work FT8. Same could be said with voice, right? Find a spot where you can sit and call that you're not interfering with anybody, so we're all sharing. Matt. So Matt is one of the very experienced HF operators on the Discord, AE4MQ, one of our moderators as well. When calling CQ, slow it down. Stretch out the CQ for 20 or 30 seconds. Make sure you say your call sign nice and slow. Funny one, make sure you don't put RF in your station ground. Also, don't do that. But anything Matt tells you to do, particularly on single sideband, do. Do what he says. Sean KJ7ITX says, stop and listen for a minute or two before calling CQ, and even ask if the frequency is used. We've said this, but it's good to say again. One of my earliest mistakes was trusting my waterfall to tell me my frequency was not in use. Good call. 2, take the time to set up your mic gain and compressor and DSP settings of your radio if they have them. It is often the thing that makes the difference of them being able to hear you in the noise. Use headphones. This one's very big. Use headphones if you're having trouble hearing through the noise. And number 4, take the time to learn how to use your filters and when to use them. Confirm to also one of our mods, don't be a dog. Upload your log. You could be the station that the other operator needed for an award. Make sure your computer's default sound card is not your radio when using FT8. I covered that in the WSJTX episode. Make sure your mic isn't operational when operating FT8. This is also true because, so that happens a lot. So you're in the digital portion of the band. No voice is supposed to be there. And you got all this FT8 going on. And then you hear like people talking in the background because the person's got upper sideband going and their mic is active in addition to their USB. So the USB is putting out the audio for the computer to talk to the radio and send it out, but the mic is also taking the voice in. So you're like background conversations going on and all kinds of funny stuff. So yeah, very, very interesting. Yep, I've definitely used the compressor in our contact that Don N5SKT had with me yesterday. Definitely do that. All right, KD9PGH. Listen before calling. Yes, always be listening. Figure out a place where your radio can like live for a little while, and just like leave it on. Or, like, when you're doing other work, leave the radio on. Come over and tune it around, see if you hear somebody. You know, see that? Oh, I see somebody on the waterfall. I'll go ahead and... Actually, I want to hear what that... I want to hear this for a second. Somebody happened to tune up on that 205 frequency that I was sitting on. I was just curious. Stay away from 7200 and 14313, and don't go near 14300 unless you're in a boating problem. Maritime Mobile Net is on 14300. I mistakenly tried to make a CQ call during field day on that frequency, and I got yelled at. Got my hand slapped. So don't do that. KK4LNR. I think his is one of my favorites. My best practice is make sure the wife doesn't see the receipt. Yes, I agree. Sterling N0SSC says the DX code of conduct up in this B word. Rafael Pinto says get HF radio, question mark, and profit. Let's dive into Sterling's comment a little bit more. Hopefully you can read that, and this is not just an eye chart. The DX code of conduct is something that you should use even when you're doing just regular contacts. It's an absolute super smart thing to do. It makes sure everything's just real smooth when you're making your contacts. And it says, I'll read it off really quickly, I will listen and then listen again before calling. I will only call if I can copy the DX station properly. Oh boy howdy. If you can't hear the station that you think is on that frequency, or you hear people calling that station, right? And you want that station because you can hear them saying that station's call sign. Oh my gosh, that's some far off land that I don't have in my logs. If you can't hear them, don't bother. You're just adding your voice into the noise and making it harder for everybody. So don't key up. I will not trust the DX cluster. I can skip that one. That's kind of a advanced topic. I will not interfere with the DX station nor anyone calling, and will never tune up on the DX frequency or in the QSX slot. That goes the same if it's just a local QSO. If you hear two people talking, don't tune up your radio on top of them. Don't interfere with their conversation. Wait for there to be a break and then say break or thank you or contact or give your call sign once they say, hey, anybody else? Because some people just might not want to let other people in. I know that sucks. I know they shouldn't be like that. But do you want to have a conversation with a bunch of salty dudes that don't want to talk to anybody else? I don't. So I just move on. I will wait for the DX station to end a contact before I call. Yes, please. And then again, it's not DX. It's all contacts. I will always send my full call sign. please always send your full call sign. Don't just say NAZ. Say Kilo India 6 November Alpha Zulu. Again, don't say that. Use your own. I will call and then listen for a reasonable interval. I will not call continuously. So you don't just go like KI6NAZ, 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 KI6. You don't do that. You just say it once and wait. I will not transmit when the DX operator calls another call sign. That's not mine. I will not transmit when the DX operator queries a call sign. That's not mine. I will not transmit when the DX station requests geographic areas other than my call sign. Again, these are all things. It doesn't have to be DX. It could be the guy down the street. It could be somebody in Ohio. It doesn't matter because Ohio is not DX. When the DX operator calls me, I will not repeat my call sign unless I think he copied it incorrectly. Look at that. I already mentioned that earlier. I will be thankful if and when I do make a contact. I will respect my fellow hams and conduct myself so as to earn their respect. It's like the Boy Scout blah, blah, blah. Oh, I forgot something here. But we are going to talk about RF gain. And in fact, I'm going to show you RF gain. I'm going to show you the effects of RF gain. You're going to hear it. We're going to do an experiment. Sterling with more wisdom, and Chris, another one of our mods. Here's a pro gamer move. We're about to pull a pro gamer move. If there's loads of QRM, and it just be interference. It could be RFI, it could be whatever. And you can't pull out the signal. Don't use the radio's preamp. Don't over amplify something that's already too high. Use your RF gain to dial it back. I'll demonstrate this. Chris says RF gain can make a world of difference in hearing a signal, and I'm going to explain why. Most HF radios, desktop radios, the 705 has it. We'll actually look at that here too. I'll show you on that one. Your radio is likely equipped with an AF gain, which is the volume knob, and likely somewhere near it or on it, like on the outer collar, is your RF gain. These two knobs work in tandem. They're used in tandem. What it is if your noise level is high, even in some cases higher than S1, you want to take your RF gain and knock that down. You want to try and bring it to where there's not a lot of noise listening in the space that you are. And then you use the AF gain, the volume, to bring it back up. What you're trying to do is balance the signal to noise ratio by reducing the amplification in your receiver and just all this stuff, this chaos that you're dumping into it. I will also add that the AGC, which is the automatic gain control of your radio, should be commensurate of the mode you're using. And we will demonstrate this right now. Okay. 705 went to sleep. Let's wake him up. All right, so I have my RF gain already turned down. I'm going to put my headset on so we can do this together. I'm going to increase the volume.
And that's where things get sideways.
So you're hearing,
Once again, you probably heard,
this is an S9 station, so we may have to find something a little bit lower. But I'm going to return the RF gain to 0. Oh, and now they're gone. But you see how the noise just shot up? And you can see it on the waterfall. Let me turn it down. When he comes back, we'll play with it a little bit. I was hoping he was going to stick around for a little while. Okay, he's back. Let me turn up the gain back.
You had your bets. By the way, did you say quid pro quo?
Oh, we got to get off this frequency. We're moving on. Yesterday,
I think it peaked at 77, and the dew point was 49, 50 degrees. So we were looking at about...
So big signals. Let me find a weaker signal. I don't speak Spanish, otherwise I would have left it with them.
Thank you.
That's another S9 signal. I need to find something that's weaker, a weaker signal. Oh my god, too far. There we go.
Well, south of us and north of us, they've had a bit, but it
Okay.
looks like about 100
So
miles wide band through here. Just as,
let's lower the RF gain.
you know, we'd normally get about 3 inches or a little better for August, or is that was September? Well, one of them.
So we started out high, we dropped it back.
Near that. We've had 2 or 3 rains that have gone through here, and the measurement is a trace. Literally not enough to even fully wet the sidewalk.
I'm going to go back up.
You know?
This guy's better. So lots of white noise. Now watch.
I don't even think
Here we go.
meter reading on that one. Seriously, yours is 5 with my dipole, mind you. Yeah, you were, as I say, you were peaking about 10, 15 over.
Really
I just,
opens it up a little bit. It clarifies it.
It's just going down and down and down.
All right, so that's that example. Oh, and really quickly, I don't think I showed this on the RF gain control on the 705. You click it, and that's where you can drop this down. Watch the waterfall. See how it clears it all out? Isn't that cool? Very cool. Okay, I'm starting to sweat. Anybody else sweating? I'm going to turn off the... Oops, sorry. I'm going to turn off this frequency so I can stop hearing them. Okay, so in line with that, preamps and attenuators. You generally want to use your RF gain to control pulling out weak signals from the noise. That's about the best you can do. Hitting it with the preamp doesn't really help. All that's doing is also bringing up the noise floor along with it. Preamps are more helpful on the higher bands. So like 10 megahertz is obviously a place where you would probably deploy the preamp. There are other examples of bands that you could use it on, some of the higher bands. I don't generally use it on 20, anything lower than 20. No need. I have had to use the attenuator, though, many times in the past. The attenuator is the one step, and they'll have different steps. I don't know what the attenuation is on the 7300, but it basically drops the gain of the 7300. So you take an extremely strong station and you like cut it in half. Very useful if you're on like 80 meters and someone just has a banging station and they're coming in 20 over S9. Boom, hit that attenuator, drop it down, because what it'll do is it will reduce some of the artifacts in the audio and will make it a lot smoother, easier to listen to. So those are generally the times that you would use that. KN6GZE, say you are going to work, but you're going to ham radio outlet. This is very good ideas. Very good recommendation from HF Soongang. Killer Spud, again, another recommendation. Anyone new to HF should give a concerted effort to build their own antenna, even if they already have one. I agree. Kevin, WQ9F, know where other weird frequencies are like SSTV, which SSTV is 14.200, right? Somebody will correct me. I think it's 14.200, because that's technically digital. And know where the band edges are for your license class, so you don't get yourself in trouble. Hey, Jason, we got Jason, Ham Radio 2.0. NVIS is great for working QSO party contacts inside your own state. I agree. We've talked about 0230. Thank you, Mike. N8YO SSTV is 14.230 megahertz. The QSO parties are for your state. You're trying to work the state when you're in that state, and you want to have a NVIS, which is Near Vertical Incidence Skywave, and that is an antenna where it is 1/4 wavelength or lower from the ground. So if you've got a 20-meter dipole, set it at 10 feet above the ground. You blast your RF straight up, and it comes back down in like a wide circle. So you're mainly getting in and around you close in. Fantastic antenna to build for close-in stuff. MCOM's great. Then I said, don't worry about what I said. I didn't cut it out. Lesson learned, if it is, I was having a conversation with somebody else. Lesson learned, if it is taking you longer to tune or you're having difficulty achieving a match, you can usually get, or check. Did I screw that one up? think I screwed that one up. It was really there for the NVIS. Forget the other stuff. And we'll leave it with Connor. It was so good, I have to leave it on there, even though it is from Connor. And don't forget, antenna is everything. And it really is. HF radio is about how it's not the most expensive antenna you can put up. It's not the best location of antenna you can put up. It's spending the appreciable amount of time to put up the best antenna you can put up at that moment. And if you spend the time and you take your time with it, it will pay dividends and it will be effective for you. You will have varying degrees of success. I appreciate that, depending on the antennas that you're planning on deploying. But if you do focus on them, you will have a good time with it. So focus on your antennas. That's my number one takeaway of today. All right, so we've got a Zoom. I will be monitoring the Zoom. If anybody has any questions, I only want to take a couple of these because I want to go to the Discord because we're already we're already half an hour over. Okay, got a couple. Looks like we got Chris joining us. Chris, are you there? Chris, can you hear me? Can you hear me, Chris? Chris, you're muted. Okay, in the meantime, we'll add... Oh, boy. We'll add Grant. Here we go, Grant. Come on in. Turn your mic... turn your camera on. Oh. I don't know why it's Ben Nass's birthday Zoom. This is the wrong one for that. That's kind of funny. Grant, unmute. Hey, there you go. Do you have video? All right. What's up? I am very under-practiced in remote radio. Really, I don't. I'll call it like it is. I don't use remote radio. I have remoted into my radio from outside my home, but I assume you mean remoting into like a powerful station, right? Yeah. So that's the one that jumps to mind when I think of remoting radio. Oh, you can't. Oh, blah. I did it again. You can't hear him. Okay, now you're back on. Sorry.
Oh, hello.
Well, we're talking about remote radio. That conversation I was one-sidedly having with him. But Grant was saying remotehams.com is kind of like what people think of when they do a remote radio setup. And what that is specifically is you're joining a more powerful radio station, and you're using their antennas. I know, you're way late. There's a lag. I know. I got it figured out. The chat room, you can just type in the chat. You're there now, right, Grant?
I'm still here.
Yeah, okay, good. You can hear him now. Happy birthday, Ben Nass. So, yeah, remotehams.com is where you go if you wanted to get time on a remote station, generally like a powerful contest station. Have you done this, Grant?
Oh, no, this is remote hams. This is where people just put up stations, like their own stations and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you could charge people for it.
Yeah, some of them do. It just depends.
Yeah. We're going to make that money. I'm just kidding. Well, what do you think about it? Have you done it?
When I first got into ham radio, that's how my first experience of HF was, using people's rigs. I know someone down here, a really close friend of mine, he let me onto his station when I got my general.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of where I got my experience in HF, just doing it have a frequency, hold down the mouse button, transmit, and actually get contacts. So it's
That's
always
fantastic.
impressive doing that.
Yeah.
So it's just an affordable way because I couldn't afford a HF radio yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be just an affordable way to tip your toes into HF radio.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Really quick, SH Rutledge, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Grant, anything else, or I'm just going to let you go and pull somebody else in?
Yep. That's it.
Thanks for calling
thank
in,
you,
buddy.
Josh. Have a good stream.
All right, take it easy. All right, well, Ivan R2AZR. We'll let him join right now. By the way, if you try to join the Zoom, you wait in the waiting list, and then I bring you in. 3 or 4 people hopped on, and I didn't pull them in immediately, and they bailed. Ivan, are you there? You're gonna have to unmute.
Yep, I am there.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm great. I finally got you online. It's like 4:30 in the morning here.
Are you just up early, or are you out late? What is it? What's the truth?
No, I actually set up an alarm to get the live stream.
Whoa, well, thank you. That's humbling. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thanks for the good work.
Yeah, well, thank you. What did you have a question or anything?
Yes, I did, in fact.
Okay.
So basically, I'm a new-ish ham, and I got myself. I live in an apartment, like most of Russia.
Okay.
And it's really hard to set up an antenna in an apartment, as you could imagine. I don't have access to the roof.
Yeah.
So it's fine with VHF, UHF, but basically what I got myself is a portable HF setup. So that I could go out into parks or go out hiking and work from there. But getting started is a challenge because basically I could tinker at home, and then I have to go out and see how it works and get my feedback, and then go back home to fix whatever it is. So what would you suggest for the workflow, like to get everything in order faster?
With like what, trying to get up an antenna or what?
Like just in general, getting out on HF.
Getting an antenna is going to be number one, and because because you have a difficult situation living in Russia, you can think about a loop, a magnetic loop. Is that something? Do you have a balcony?
I mean, no, I don't. So I think getting a home antenna is not really an option right now.
Okay.
So other than just throwing a wire out the window, but that's probably not gonna work.
Well, you just don't want somebody to grab it and yank it or whatever. So if you're thinking like portable, like you can build a dipole and get started that way, and just use that for portable.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I mean, I've built a dipole, and I've been listening around, but there's no one answering me, so I don't know if...
are you going far away from buildings and stuff?
Yes. I actually, like, the occasions on which I was listening were outside of town anyways, so...
Gosh, well, let me ask, what radio are you using? How much power do you put out?
It's a local thing. It's like a kit radio, but it was pre-assembled for me and tested for me by other people. So I'm pretty sure on the radio itself that it's working properly.
Yeah, but how much power are you putting out?
It's 23 watts, so it's kind of G90-ish feature-wise.
So here's the big thing. Are you hearing people when you're on the radio?
Yes.
Okay. What bands does it work on?
I mean the radio itself.
Yeah. And your antenna.
I've built a 20-meter dipole and a 40-meter dipole,
Mm-hmm.
and the radio itself works like full range,
Okay.
1 to 30 something.
And you've been doing single sideband, I'm guessing.
I've been listening for CW, but I haven't learned Morse properly yet. So
Okay.
I couldn't work it anyway.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say even if you heard CW, you wouldn't be able to work it, right? Although I was gonna say go learn CW. That'll make 20 watts sing a lot more than voices.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing during the whole quarantine situation.
Yeah. So the best thing I could tell you to do is wait for a station that's calling for contacts. Wait for there to be a break between contacts, and then just go after that. Is that what you've been doing?
More or less, yes. So I've been tuning into frequencies that are more or less used and trying to call there.
And you're making no contacts, 0 contacts.
For now, yes. That said, I've had like 3 outings so far.
Yeah. Something doesn't seem right. Are you sure your mic is actually working? The radio may be working, but is the mic working?
It should be. I don't have anything to test it with. I mean, there are reps going out when I key up and speak.
Do you have other hams that you know in your area?
I've got some that I've contacted via chef.
Yeah.
So,
can you like hook up with them and see if they're on HF that you could maybe test out your station with them? I'm worried that you have a problem.
Yeah,
I'm worried that there's a problem in your station. I'll be honest. I'm worried about that because it seems odd to me that you can't make any contacts. How long are you going out there for? Like in a day?
I think it was like a couple hours each day. But
yeah,
it was mostly spent listening, so...
Oh, okay, well...
So I haven't actually been doing many calls.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. For everybody that's in the waiting room, just hang on. And really quick, Sterling, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. Yes, shout out to you. You had a really lot of good lessons learned. I appreciate that. Yeah, so Ivan, I have more questions than answers, so it's hard for me to give you a straight answer. How did you tune up your antenna?
So there's basically just trim it to more or less the right length, and then by SWR.
You used the SWR meter on your radio?
Yes.
Oh, you did. Okay, so it is. What's the?
I actually have an external SWR meter.
Okay.
Also.
Okay. Good.
But.
And it's in tune. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe you're just not calling enough. Mike K8MRD is splashing you with a little bit of his mojo. He's saying he just might not be calling enough to get in. Just call. Just keep calling. Call like a madman. Just go in saying, I'm making a contact. I'm not listening today. Go for it.
Okay, yeah, maybe I was too much into all that listen thing.
Oh, no, you got to do that. But it sounds like you did that, so you're ready. It's time for big ham energy. Put the big ham energy out there.
And the other thing I wanted to ask about was why do people tell the band they're calling CQ on when they're calling? I hear that a lot.
I don't know. I think it's just so that they can like take up some time talking so that people have a chance to find them. I think that's what they're doing. I think that's what it is. For me, I just put the radio into automatic CQ call, and I just let it sit there. Just let it run in the background. Oh, that's a good point too. Yeah, but he's portable when he does it. Somebody's recommending you use WebSDR, that's near your QTH to listen to see how you sound. But if you don't have, do you have cell phone connection when you're out in the field?
Yeah, I do have like mobile internet, and I could conceivably
Do
have a
that.
laptop by the side.
Yeah,
Okay.
you don't even need don't even need a laptop to do WebSDR. You can use your phone if you have a smartphone.
Oh,
Excuse me. If you
pretty.
smartphones will play the audio, so you just tune to the frequency your radio's on. Great comment. Who I got to go back and look who did that.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
it was
that's
Jeremy.
a really interesting idea. Thank
Jeremy
you.
and somebody else mentioned WebSDR. Pasha, yeah, do WebSDR. Try to get one close, like as close as you can, and then start looking for ones further out, and that'll give you a really good idea how far you're making it. That's a great idea. Fantastic work, chat. Good work. I love it. All right, Ivan, I hope that helped a little bit. It's amazing you set an alarm to watch the stream. That's super cool. Thank you for doing that. That's awesome. I got a couple more people I got to take some comments from, so I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna say a 73 to you,
okay.
sir.
73.
All right, take it easy.
Bye.
All right, very good. All right, so we'll pull in Jim. Was waiting longer, so we'll pull in Jim Johnson. We'll wait for him to get unmuted. If he has video, we'll switch to that. Alarm to watch the stream. That's super cool. Thank you for doing that. Jim, you got to mute your audio on the stream. I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna. All right, let me switch over here. You do have video. Hey, Jim. Ivan, I'm gonna let you go. Are you? I'm gonna go ahead and remove you. Sorry, Ivan. Take it easy. I'm not removing you because I don't like you, but we're gonna give Jim the full. What's going on, Jim?
Oh, I'm just watching your live stream there, and I've been watching you for a while. I'm just getting back into the hobby, actually.
Right on.
And I was a ham about 8.5, 9 years ago. Then I went to Afghanistan, Iraq, all that stuff, and Saudi, and then I just never really got back into it until like about 2 months ago. So
okay, right on. So what's going on with that? You have a question or anything?
Yeah, well, I just bought a Open Spot 3, and I've been struggling. I mean, I can hear everything. I can connect to all the groups, but I just can't get out. I just get stuck on Talk Group 9, and I can't get past it.
Oh, meaning you get stuck in a talk group where everybody's chatting and you can't get off of it?
No, that I understand. I'm not. I can, when I broadcast, I can get out to Brandmeister. At least on Parrot and a couple other things. But for some reason, I'm not broadcasting into anybody's talk group.
And you've joined their talk group?
Yeah. So I hear them fine. I can hear them on the computer. I can hear them on the Anytone. I'm just not getting. I'm not broadcasting beyond the Open Spot 3. It's crazy.
And you're sure did you build your code plug, or where's your code plug from?
I got it initially from Rocky Mountain Ham.
Okay.
And but then I modified it. And of course, with OpenSpot, they didn't have OpenSpot, and I plugged that in there. I watched Chris Andrews, I think, from the UK, and a few others, and I got it working to a certain point. It's just I not getting any audio out. It's crazy. I can get the Parrot. I can get 999, 998.
Wait, you can get Parrot? It's working on Parrot?
Absolutely. And when I transmit into so when I join a talk group and I hear them talk, and it's coming across my radio, it's coming across the computer on the status there, and when I push the talk, nothing. It says going out to talk group 9, and it's just that's where it dies. That's where it goes.
Is it only talk group 9 that you're trying to connect to?
No, I'm trying to connect to everybody.
Any talk group doesn't work.
Any talk group doesn't work.
But Parrot works.
Parrot does work.
And you don't hear yourself on the hose line or anything like that?
No. So it's I've reached out to Shark RF, of course, and they said, look, just if you can get out on Parrot, if you can get out 998 and 9999, we can't do anything for you. The Open Spot in their mind is working correctly. And I've reached out.
I think they are, to be honest. I think they are. It's probably more on your radio side.
Right.
It's probably something in that code plug.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And I've reached out to Bridgecom. They can't help. Of course, they're selling their own products.
Oh wait, so you have a Bridgecom radio or no?
I have a Bridgecom. Well, it's a Anytone bought through Bridgecom.
Wait, so you bought an Anytone through Bridgecom and they're not helping you?
Yeah, they said we don't really support Open Spot 3. See, so it was all about the Open Spot 3.
But it's not the Open Spot 3. It's your code plug.
Yeah, it's my code plug. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to figure it out. I spend maybe a half an hour every night getting frustrated, but I'm going to reach out to that Chris guy out in the UK if I don't get in.
So
well,
without looking at it, it's hard for me to say, right? It's very difficult for me to talk through DMR problems just like this. I think everybody in the chat's saying it sounds like code plug. It sounds like you probably need to rebuild. So rebuild a contact for your open spot, and make sure you've got it linked up appropriately to the talk groups that you want, and then reflash your radio. Try that. Right. I would encourage you to join the Ham Radio Crash Course Discord and ask this question, because there are people.
I actually have. I just haven't been on it. So.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Yeah, join, but you gotta join and then ask the questions. We can, there's a whole second step to this that we need to have happen.
Yeah. No worries.
So, unfortunately, that's probably all I can do at this juncture. But there's definitely, we can help you out on the Discord. So join us over there.
Yeah, but I'm really enjoying your content. You're putting out a lot of good information.
Oh, thank you. And
it's helping me to get re-energized in the hobby, and
that's the point. Yeah. That's right. That's what we're doing. So I appreciate that. Thank you. That's what I'm finding value in doing is trying to get more people engaged in this, because it's so much fun. Yeah.
So right on, man. I appreciate it, Josh.
Cool. Well, you can hang out. I'm going to add one more, and then we're going to call it a day. So we're going to add in EWARAU. What a call sign. Let's find out where they're from. People in chat will probably say before I even talk to them. How you doing? Are you there? Are you connecting to audio? While that's going on, I'm going to tap into what I was going to open up on the after stream. I picked up a big bomber. Smog City limited release bourbon barrel aged OE barley wine style ale. That is a bomber. Did we get EW8RAU? Are you on audio? You're still muted there, buddy.
Yes. Can you hear me?
I can. Very good. How you doing?
Okay, nice. I'm doing well. I guess you can't see me for some reason.
Yeah, where is your call from? Where are you located? What's your QTH?
I'm located in Gomel. That's Golf Oscar Mike Echo Lima, located in the southeast part of Belarus. Hi there. I guess you can see me now.
Belarus?
Belarus, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. I apologize for my pronunciation of where you're at.
Yes, it's perfectly. I guess my accent is way worse.
No. I just want to make sure I know where you're at. So how you doing today?
Well, quite okay. And, basically, I've joined in just to say hi, and I've got one simple question to you. I've seen that at least it looked like you've been using an ICOM 705, and I just wanted your opinion because I wanted to get something portable, and basically I was looking for either something like really cheap, like these Baofeng Hendix, something like that, or basically something more more expensive and with basically lots of more functions. And I was thinking of getting myself an ICOM 705. What's your opinion? Shall I go for it or just stick out for something cheaper?
I mean, is that in your budget? I mean, that's the big question. Does it fall within your budget if you were to spend that kind of money?
Yes, quite fine. I mean, it won't be an overstretch, and it won't be like something huge.
Do you already have an HF radio and you're looking for something to work portable with?
Yes, I've got myself an ICOM 7300, and I'm quite, I don't know, I quite like it. I've been making many contacts over the last few months, so...
So I will tell you straight up, I have not had this radio very long, but it is fast becoming my most favorite radio. you know, you get into a situation where you say something enough times and then you get known for it. I have kind of gotten known for being not really an advocate of an all-in-one radio. Big things come to mind. I'm not a fan of the 817 or 818, and I'm not a fan of the 857. But I love the 891. These are all Yaesu radios. I realized, and it was actually somebody else that helped me. I think it might have been Matt, AE4MQ on the Discord. He was saying that it's really the integration of the features on the platform that is the IC705 is what I like. The IC705 functions like an ICOM 7300. It is easy to use. It's something I'm already familiar with, and it's just adding on those other functionalities onto that interface that I already know and really like with the screen. So in a lot of ways, it's just taking the 7300, which is already, you know, a great radio, reducing it down to QRP. So yes, it is a QRP radio, but then it's adding in the VHF, UHF aspect, the D-Star, the wireless LAN, the Bluetooth, and the GPS. And all those things together is just a huge feature set. It's an insane feature set that they can pack into it. I have been just ecstatic using this thing. I've been using it every day. I literally pick it up in the morning when I wake up and I start listening to the local repeaters, and that's it. I switch it to the local repeaters on a mobile whip, signal stick, come into the shack, connect it to whatever BNC connector for whatever antenna I've got up, usually the Step IR, and it's been fantastic. It's a great radio, but it is not cheap. Nor is it the lightest QRP radio you can get. It is heavy because it's got all that radio tech in it. It's packed with stuff. Those are my thoughts.
Well, I mean, I've been mostly thinking the same, and just like hearing that hearing your opinion that it's actually quite good. I guess I'll actually like go for it. Maybe it will be somewhat of a risk, but...
Do you have a QRP radio yet? Portable radio?
I don't have one. I was thinking about getting the QCX, but like ordering one will take like a few months to arrive here, so...
Is there... you can get ICOMs relatively easy in Belarus?
Yeah, I mean... mostly, you know, like the most well-known stuff can be bought here, but something like more, you know, more niche products, like more QRP stuff, like QCX, something like, I don't know, like even G90s. I think maybe it's available in here, but it takes quite an effort to get one. So...
I'm going to continue saying it. Hopefully I get known for saying this for the 705. It's a ham radio multi-tool. It does all of ham radio in that platform. It's all the things you want to do in ham radio right there, basically. It's QRP, so you are limited to 10 watts, but everything's at your disposal. If you put a good antenna on it, like we said today, antenna is everything. If you put a good antenna on it, it's fine. And that includes VHF, UHF, that includes HF, the whole 9 yards. So it's a fantastic radio. They're going... I don't know how this radio is going to do, but I know it's going to do well. It's how well is it going to do? That's my question.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since it's going to do well anyways, and the rest depends on the antenna, that will push me to make a better antenna, probably.
Yeah, I mean, you do need a resonant antenna, of course, because it doesn't have a tuner. Unless you want an external tuner, which I guess you could. But to be honest, I don't think you need it for portable ops, really. I think you can just...
Exactly.
You can make yourself a link dipole. There's tons of options, you know. So verticals like the Wolf River, or you know, any kind of trapped where you can locate the spot on the trap that you want to put. The world is your oyster. There's so many antennas that are resonant that you can work with that it's not even really a problem.
Yeah, I mean, have you heard about the Fuchs antenna? You probably have. What do you think about it?
What is it?
No, I think it's the logoperiodic antenna, if I'm right.
Oh.
Maybe the chat will correct me.
Is
that
this
can be basically... It's basically something like I don't know, like a manual tuner for a long wire, which is, I think it's either 41 meter or 41 feet. I guess most probably it's 41 meter, and basically it can be tuned into all of the HF bands except the 160 meters.
What was the antenna called?
A Fuchs antenna. I'll just spell it to you in the chat.
For everybody that's commenting, the 705's weight is mostly the battery. No, it is not. It is not the battery. I am monitoring the chat on the Zoom side. Oh, I see. You posted it there. Okay, let me see if I can find it. Oh, okay. I gotcha. All right, let me throw that over. Hold on, everybody. So the QRP project, or is it an actual, the German? Is this German?
I mean, basically, that page it describes the concept, and I believe it does it in English. So I guess you can check it in there quickly.
Oh, it's like multi-tapped. Wow. Okay. Oh, so it's a matching unit. I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, like a key QRP matching unit for you know, like for long wire.
Gotcha. Yeah. That, I mean, sure, you can use anything in addition to what you're already running, but it's just going to add more weight and stuff into the mix. To be honest, I'd rather just use a resonant antenna or a vertical that I can tap into it at different points and just be on with it. Just get on with it. Yeah. So, I hope that kind of answers your question. Does that cover it?
Yeah. That does it completely, and I'll probably stop wasting your time. All of the best to you.
You're not wasting my time. I appreciate you calling in. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you're having a nice stream, and let's some other people join in as well.
No, this is it. I'm wrapping it. You were the last caller, so I'm gonna wrap it up, and we're gonna go to the Discord after chat. So if you're interested, join us up over there. Everybody in the chat's mentioning, you can't have a conversation of a resonant antenna without mentioning a DX Commander. Hopefully that came through. I don't know if it did. The DX Commander Expedition, absolutely. I'll be building one actually tomorrow or Friday because next weekend I'm doing a soda activation. Should be a very special soda activation. So, all right, I'm going to let you guys go. Hopefully you join us over on the Discord. I'll talk to you later. All right, take it easy, guys, there, so I can wrap up the show. All right, see ya. All right, we'll end that meeting. There we go. Okay, thank you for the super chat, Lee Harold. Great stuff. Could have used the info last year. Glad it's here for new hams. If interested in reviewing the 6400, you could log into mine this fall. Very good. All right. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. This was a patron picks episode. Again, the first stream of the month always goes to the patrons to pick out the show topic. If you're interested in supporting the channel on Patreon, the link is in the description. These are our producers. Thank you, Hercules, Bill, Ron, Stefan, the Wyoming Ham, Jason, David, Franklin, Brad, Garrett, Dennis, Kenny, Andy, Devin. We got a lot of these now. Thank you again for the support. It allows us to do this. Mark, Rob, Dennis. Thank you so much, Dennis, for your help on the D-Star. Raymond, Geraldo, Kelso, Brad, Evan, Lee, Ken, Wesley, Jace, Barbara, Randall, Harald or Gerald, Stevie, John, Rob, Jim, Sean, the IC94, should be the 704, the Tan Hat, Steve, Nick, Tom, Simon, Steve, Oof Radio, which is Michael, David, Gerald, hey, Good Game Ham Radio, there's go sub to him, Good Game Ham Radio, Michael, Mossy, Daniel, Richard, Jeremy, Jonathan, John, Jonathan, Andy Cowley, I saw him in the chat earlier, right on Andy. Thanks for your help on Facebook, by the way, good post. William, James, Grimus, Robert, Mystic Storm, Bill Wiggers, David Burns, Kevin, Monvel, Scott, Corey, Zach, Dean, the Pigeon Man, Ken, Floyd, Todd, Bob, Mark, Sean, John, S.H. Rutledge, saw you in the chat earlier. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the support. Joseph, Lloyd, Paul, Jason, another Jason. A lot of Jasons in ham radio. Matthew, Dax, Kevin, KB3ZWI, Fred, Harlan, Lawrence, James, Dad, okay, Dad, Rob, Samuel, Foma, Josh, Alex, Stephen, Matthew, Vincent, Michael, Andrew, and Truloff or Torloff? That's a new one, I think. All right. I am Josh, KI6NAZ. I hope this was helpful. This is a huge topic, a very, very big topic that is... I could do these once a month and just add more to it, because there's so many things you can learn, little nuances to HF radio, little things you need to pick up on and get better at. The best thing I can say is you're gonna get to the point where you're gonna be constantly learning all the time. And so if you just admit that you're going to be learning and having fun with radio, then it's great. Like, you're going to constantly be learning. There's new things, new antennas, new radios that are going to come along, new fun stuff. So just treat it as fun. It's all supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be in it, having a good time. That's what it's for. It has real applicable emergency purposes, yes, and that's great, and we should be prepared, but it's supposed to be fun at the same time. And HF is a lot of fun. So we'll probably be doing some FT8 at least on the after chat. Again, the link is in the Discord, and I'm being told that Discord has reached max capacity. So I'm very excited about that. That means there's over 100 people on Discord right now that we're going to talk with. I am Josh, KI6NAZ. Thank you so much for watching. We went well over 500 people watching tonight, which is fantastic. Thank you so much. I really... The reason I do this is because I think I'm helping. I want to help. I want more people to be in ham radio. I didn't start out thinking that I was making any kind of an impact, but it feels like I am. And so I'm trying to do the best I can to get you the information that you're all interested in having. So if you want to reach out, you absolutely can. You can contact me at hoshnasi@gmail.com for show ideas, for questions you have. I already answer everybody's questions in the comments on Instagram. Follow me there as well. So, yeah, go ahead and follow me on those different locations and hit me up. Okay, I am Josh, KI6NAZ. I'll talk to you later. See ya. And I'm supposed to talk for a little bit, because if I end the stream too early, it cuts out a huge part of the show. Oh, only 25 people on Discord. Huh. Okay, well, we'll go sort that out right now. Don't know what's going on. But yeah, everybody hop over on the Discord. We'll get this thing going. I don't know what happened, but we'll figure it out. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up now. Hopefully that is enough time for YouTube to catch up, and we'll